Yeehaw, Virgil. This is the Avram.
Yeehaw, indeed.
Yeehaw. This is the Avram Davidson universe
As
with
Avram
Bob.
used to say himself.
Yes, I'm Bob from Wheel of Genre, and this is Virgil
Hello.
from Literally Books.
From
So
Literally
we're
Books.
here.
That's right. I have a channel too.
He's got a channel too.
I
It's
forgot about
great. It's great. You should subscribe. We're going to read one more Esterhazy story, and then I think we might move on. We want to start reading some of the Lime Killer stories, but we wanted to do one more Esterhazy story after the holidays, and this one sounds really interesting. It's called The King's Shadow Has No Limits.
Yeah, it's a great title for a story. It really is. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. It's a shorter story, and I thought it was a really good place for us to stop Esterhazy stories for a little while and then move on and probably come back at some point later. I thought it was really good. Really a quieter story, a little bit less of a mystery. Although I mean, I guess it's a mystery, but it's not a detective type mystery story exactly. More of just a mystery in general. I really liked it.
It feels like maybe a detective and a mystery kind of passing in the night, like two ships passing in the night,
Yeah,
because it could turn
sure.
into it could turn into a full-on detective mystery. It's, again, we have Dr. Esterhazy kind of just showing up to something, going to go see something, getting involved in something, and then seeing evidence of an event that kind of contradicts everything that he would expect. So here he's going to this town where everyone is trying to dig out an aqueduct. They're trying to build a stream to continue or to dam up. They're doing some kind of machine thing, Virgil. They're building something, and so they're all digging. So they're digging, and while Esterhazy is there, he wants to go see how it's all going, and then he sees someone. He's like, "Who the heck? That person down there looks so familiar." And they don't have any machines. They just have these buckets. They keep putting dirt in because they've run out of machines. So it's just all human labor. But he sees an old man down there who doesn't really seem to be contributing much. He's pretty tired. He's hoisting some buckets. And then he goes, "Oh my God, is that the Emperor?" And so it seems like the Emperor is down there working.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
right. And there's this, although it's not directly invoked, and I don't know I got energy similar to like something like the Man in the Iron Mask, right? This which is that final entry in the Musketeers series, right? And all about how the king has a twin brother who is imprisoned because he's a political danger, but they can't kill him, but he can't be allowed to be out, right? And it made me immediately think of this, like, oh, is this like the Emperor's like twin that he's been or something? I was like, oh, what an interesting idea. Yeah, I thought that was really, really great. But what does I'm trying to remember what it's not that he evokes. He evokes something else, but it doesn't matter. But that's what I thought of, was that the Man in the Iron Mask.
Oh, that concept sounds like the Prince and the Pauper. Two people switching. Freaky Friday, a cult classic.
Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday. It reminds me too of I think it's the very end of Henry IV when Hotspur is running around and he thinks he's killed the king, but then there's all of these people that are dressed up like the king. So he's looking, and because they have to protect the king, everyone's in a mask. So you never know who you're actually attacking. So there's so many decoys. But here, he's pretty sure he's seeing the real deal. He's seeing the real McCoy down there. But that's where it doesn't become a full-on mystery. There's the opportunity for this to become a mystery, but Esterhazy even doubts it. He's like, why would the real Emperor be down there? He has a few ideas. Maybe it's me hallucinating. I'm just seeing someone I think looks like the Emperor. Maybe it's like a collective hallucination, like the Emperor himself has kind of absconded, or he's dreamt himself into this scenario, so he just doesn't even know where he is. It's like he's sleepwalking almost. And then the third one would just be, has the Emperor really fallen this far that he belongs here scooping up mud like the rest of them?
Yeah. I thought there was some really great, I guess you could say something almost like more like shoring up of this world that Esterhazy lives in, which is very close to ours, but not quite the same. And you do get the sense of this being like like this really interesting empire or something that like is, in this that has that existed, but that we don't really remember, that our history books didn't record for some reason.
Mm.
Um, I really love that energy. I loved how it just felt like, we're getting this more complete, another part of that picture of this world that he lives in. It was so cool.
What you just said too, Virgil, makes me think a lot about the Atlantis element. I mean, it's kind of mentioned in passing, but it's an interesting element of the story because it's mentioned twice, and it feels like this idea of a history that could be, or an alternative history, an imaginative history that seems to almost exist out there. There's like when it's kind of involved in the rest of the world and it's kind of involved in real countries, it feels like things that happen in this country sends little waves into our
Mhm.
reality. But when they mention Atlantis, it's so interesting because the emperor, or he's also called the doppelganger here, we don't know if he's real or not, but he's talking to Esterhazy and he's like, oh, when I fall, the whole empire will fall, and I wonder what will happen without me. What will happen to the rest of all of these countries together? And he says it's like Atlantis that just sinks underneath. A country, a nation that never existed. Plato just mentions it, but then people have taken it up to be a real thing that could really be out there, and people have devoted their lives to searching for it. But here, he's saying, what will happen once people move on from me as the emperor? If the empire falls, will we just be, a sunken city that doesn't really exist in history? It's just a legend. Will we just become a legend too?
Yeah, I it definitely felt like he was saying, in a sense, not so much that how great he is, but that
Mm.
that he's like, just his presence maintains the status quo of the way this sort of very peaceful sort of time in history for this land, and that when he's gone, when he leaves, that will end. We don't,
Mm.
and that the city's, right, Atlantis sinks, and it's like, what happens then? Right? It won't, whatever it is, it won't be what it is now, right? It's like a dramatic change, or some change, great change will take place. And he sort of knows that. And he sort of wants to hold on, in a sense, not so much for himself, but for everyone else who reaps the benefit of this empire. It's what it feels like. It's almost like a self-sacrificing sort of, like, I want to persist to keep this going for everyone else. And I just thought it was so cool. It was very Arthurian in a sense.
Oh yeah. Once and future king. Um,
Yeah.
it does feel very Arthurian, and there's kind of there's like a melancholy that is mixed up with the nostalgia because they're not gone yet, but the nostalgia has already started, and so that's why it feels a little bit melancholic.
Mhm.
And just like you said, he says, he is the empire. The emperor is the empire. They're kind of the metonymical representation of the empire. And he says, this empire, after me, this empire will sink like Atlantis, like we said. And he says, the children of these children will look for it upon the maps in vain. It will just cease to
Yeah.
exist altogether. And that's the same fear. Again, the idea of the mystery being here, the mystery of who that man is, what really happens when the empire falls. And the other mystery of Esterhazy thinking, no, that can't be him. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm going to get involved
Right,
and research this,
like,
you know?
yeah, like, what is it? Like, just, like I said, a doppelganger, or just like, just a
Mm.
coincidence, right? Just happens to look so close, you know? Yeah, I really liked it. And something else you said, I just forgot what I was gonna say, but that's okay. I had something else I was gonna say, but I was like, well, I'll just I went. When it comes back, I'll let you know.
It'll come back. We'll dig it up like
It will.
the ideas.
It will come
Um,
back, I hope.
it'll come back. What you were just saying though makes me think too. The Esterhazy has the same concern as this emperor, and even though the emperor seems to be kind of dottery, he's described as so hungry when Esterhazy gives him bread and milk. He's stuffing his face, and he's kind of just talking about what sounds like nonsense at first until he starts hitting all of these nails on the head about what happened, what will happen to him, what will happen to the empire. But Esterhazy the whole time has also been thinking, hmm. I worry about the state of our nation, and I worry about the state of our emperor, which is, the equivalent of the state of our nation, because no emperor, what will
Right.
happen to the empire? So it's interesting to have the detective who is not really investigating or not really taking the hint to get involved in this mystery, thinking of the exact same conclusion, the exact same worry. And then the emperor
Yeah.
is thinking of the exact same worry too, but he's not exactly the mystery because he's a doppelganger, he's just a phantom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just such a I don't know. It had a real like strong message or strong feel to it that was just it kind of like extended beyond just the story itself. I really felt it was really poignant. It just had this um I don't know, and then of course we also see that figure a couple iterations at least. And the emperor talks about how like the least what is there a quote like like he like something about like wanting to be like the least member of his empire or something, and kind of wanting kind of almost as like a penance or something that he wants to engage in, like to he's lived the like such a grandiose life in a sense that he sort of like wants to in penance um live like the worst possible existence for his age, for his like physical age, in a sense. I don't know. I really thought that was really interesting. That he wanted to do this, that he was sort of like paying back.
He is trying, yeah. He's because the emperor is a weird position, same like a king, an anointed king. So you're not chosen; you're just born to be this position, but you're also the representative of the whole nation. So if you fall, it
Yeah.
feels like the nation falls too, and so everyone has to rush to defend you. You send people out to die, to fight. So if the emperor has been given everything, I guess he wants to kind of, like you said, give penance or give back in a way that is not just ruling anymore as he's going through this kind of it's not even really a retirement. He's like quickly diminishing. He's quickly slowing
Yes.
down. So he wants to feel this. It's unclear really what he's giving back. He's just kind of cast off all of his beautiful robes. He's cast off anything, and this he's wearing like basically a sack. His pants are full of holes. His socks are full of holes. He's just in complete beggar's clothes going down there and digging, doing like the lowest work possible is digging holes. It's really
Yeah.
interesting that he's gone from the very top and then elected to go to the very bottom, and not just to say, "Oh, look, I've been so privileged and I want to give back," but also like I kind of know where things are going, and he almost becomes a representative of the future of their empire. He's like, "Okay, I know where it's going to be in the next few generations. I might as well go there now in the dirt."
Yeah.
Mm.
Right. Yeah, it's such a base activity that he takes part in, right? Like the lowest levels of poverty. And I like too that like Esterhazy is never sure if
Mm.
this is really the emperor. And so even when he approaches him, he's not sure if it is, but then he also like worries that it really is the emperor and that he doesn't want to give him away.
Oh yeah.
um, because he's worried about what that might mean, and so he sort of tries to be very subtle. He doesn't want to bow. I think he inclines his head, is what it says, and he sort of starts talking to him, um, almost covertly a little
Mm.
bit. Because he's worried that he's going to give away what he's doing. He's
Mm.
not. He's like, I'm not sure if if I'm talking to just a random poor person who looks just like the emperor for some reason, or if this is the emperor in disguise. I'm not sure which. So he has to weigh everything he says against that. Really love that.
What do you think, Virgil? Because this is similar to some of the ideas we've seen in other Esterhazy stories. This one does not seem to be supernatural at all, except for the idea of maybe there being a doppelganger or a phantasm. But it's not really played up
What?
for being. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, there is at the ending, if I remember correctly,
Mm.
at the very end, there's a moment where, and this is big spoilers, so for this story, but there's a moment at the end where um, I think we find out that the emperor is passing or is almost ready to pass, and
Oh.
sort of like because of the information we get, we realize like that couldn't have really been the emperor, but
Oh.
like maybe it was like, but then you get the impression that was that like his spirit or something, like his spirit was doing penance or something. I mean, it wasn't like
Mm.
it wasn't like what Esterhazy saw and what he was experiencing was like a ghost almost, like a pre-ghost. That's a weird thing to say, but like they say like almost like a premonition of an event or
Mm.
something, or like a representation of the emperor's spirit or something. And I really thought that was such a cool twist to it. That I don't know. I really loved it. I really liked the story. It was just a great, very simple story, but I really liked it.
That's true. I guess it's proven that it couldn't have really been him because he's still at his place, right? And they say that,
That was the
yeah,
impression I got,
I
at
think you're
least. I don't know
right.
if that's true, but it was the mood that I got from it. It was like, oh, so it couldn't have actually been him. But then the guy talks like he was the emperor.
Yeah.
He says so much and talks so much about it without any real, like, without a lot of guidance from Esterhazy. Esterhazy just sort of says, like, I don't know what he says, like, my liege or something. He says just like, oh,
Mm.
something. He says something very subtle. And then the guy's just like, whoop, I'm just going to Emperor talk to you right now. We're just going
You're
to go right to the Emperor chat. Like,
right
maybe
to the
this old
emperor
guy, maybe
chair.
this random old guy was just ready for this. He was just like loving it. He's like, one day
Finally,
it's
the
going to
one
happen.
day I've been practicing my emperor chat. We get a few clues,
But
and I think besides from Esterhazy doubting the whole time, being like, that can't be him. That looks like him, but why would he be here? There are other good indications too, where he says that he's still in bed, I think, and that he could have been a spirit that
yeah,
walked away from the sleeping body, like an apparition. But then he also says this. He says, what had happened? Was it possible? Had he, Engelbert Esterhazy, suffered and shared in suffering and hallucination of the most fantastic kind conceivable? Dreamed, constructed an entire phantasm out of the depths of his mind? Or had some aspect of the aged monarch left its fleshy mansion, and, as the Kafirs of Africa said, gone wandering about whilst the body slept? Or what? Because we never get a complete answer. It's just or
yeah.
what? So yeah,
And I love it, that title, which was the title of the story, The Emperor's Shadow Has No Limits. Is that right? Yeah.
I think
Um,
so.
it, I think I
Yeah,
phrased it right.
King
Or
Shadow.
close. um, that it's explained earlier in the story when it's and sort of like that title is sort of given its significance, I guess, earlier in the story when it's talking about somebody in this building project, their home or something is in the way, and like they don't want to sell, and then like they show them like they show them like, well, this is eminent domain, so we can do whatever we want, and that's all that needs to be said about it. And the Emperor's shadow knows no limits. In other words, like, you know, or those at the King's shadow, whatever it is. No, so like he can do whatever, it doesn't matter. Like it just that power is always there, like enforcing itself. But then at the end of the story, it's like he is the empire, and it's like his shadow is like cast on this, is like over Esterhazy or something for a minute, or over this moment. Like it's like that's it, like his shadow that you're seeing, or like I don't know. It's like there's this really great like metaphor there or imagery that I really thought was cool. I really loved how the title, like, oh yeah, it makes sense that this is the title of the story, but then it also makes sense for the end, and it rephrased that title, is sort of like reevaluated in the end. I really liked it. Like, was it Esterhazy feeling the influence of the shadow of the emperor? Was it the emperor's shadow like manifesting itself? Was Esterhazy just in his own head, letting that was it all in his head, and just the power of the emperor was just affecting his perception? I don't know. I mean, like, I think all those could work. I
They all
don't
could
know.
work. He even is um, hearing it again. He's like he's hallucinating. So he's for sure at the beginning, at least, sure I'm seeing that man there. I'm sure I'm looking at this guy right now. I'm sure I'm talking to him.
Uh-huh.
And later he's like, "Oh, did that really happen?" But then he has another like auditory hallucination where he says he heard over and over again in his mind, as though even now spoken next to his ear, the words which either the aged sovereign or else his very simulacrum or doppelganger had said, "After me, the empire will sink like Atlantis." So he, maybe he's just remembering very clearly, but the impression is that guy's talking to him again. It's like the ghost is right next to him
Yeah.
again, repeating what he's saying. Virgil, one of the ideas that you were just talking about, the shadow and the stretching shadow and the influence of a king, standing up, blocking the sun, providing the sun, of course, to all of the people, but also casting everything in shadow. Everything is defined by the king. There's a long-standing, I wouldn't say long, there's a tradition in the ideas of like British monarchies, especially so English monarchies, of this idea of the king representing the mirror, so of the world, so that everyone can look on the king and see back, what the order of the world should look like. And we've talked about this before, but at the end, I think Richard the Second, when Richard is deposed by Bolingbroke, he looks in the mirror and he says, "I am no more." Smashes the mirror and just shatters to pieces. He's no longer the mirror. He's no longer the sovereign.
Mm.
And I was thinking, if the king is the shadow here, it's interesting because once the king has stood up, cast everyone in shadow, the king is gone, and that shadow remains, like you said, just like the king as an apparition kind of remains. But it's depressing too because it also feels like the shadow of something sinking to the bottom of the ocean, just like at Atlantis. You see that kind of dancing, dark shape that just continues to disappear, going lower and lower and lower in the
Mm.
water. It kind of feels like that's what's going to happen to all of these people we see digging the hole. They're digging for nothing, and they're digging themselves into their own hole, going to sink down.
Yeah, and it's almost as though Esterhazy, because of his perceptiveness,
Hmm.
his natural aptitude like his sort of detective-ish nature, his curiosity is the first to sort of see this,
Hmm.
that he can see this where other people sort of ignore it or overlook it. I mean, other people are interacting with this doppelganger and no one else seems to recognize him. They even
Yeah.
mistreat him as though he's,
Right.
just scum, essentially, you know? Um, Man, it's almost like he gets this glimpse because of his perceptive nature, because of just that one quality about him that is so important to a detective, that sort of perception, that inquisitiveness. I don't know. It was kind of it just works so well. It's
I think
such a simple, when you think of it on its face value, such a simple story that just is so well executed.
What do you think? Because you were just saying, it's important for the detective to be really inquisitive and to be thinking and to see things that others do not. We've noticed in one of the stories, maybe the woman who lived with the bear, Esterhazy says that he doesn't like to get involved if he doesn't need to, and
Mm.
often he will just sit. He doesn't like interrogate anyone. He just sits and listens. He listens for a very
Mhm.
long time until he realizes, oh, I kind of see what's going on. I see what's going on, and he can make conclusions that way. Do you feel though, because sometimes we've seen that once he knows enough, he backs away. He's like, okay, I'm not going to get involved because if I do, it's going to put this supernatural thing back into its cage, or it's going to destroy this relationship that these people have. So if I prove that if I solve this mystery, it's going to ruin something. Do you think that in this story, is it a failure to launch? Like, is it a detective who's just refusing to participate in the mystery? Or is it kind of similar to before, where it's the detective has already solved everything and decided, no, I'm not going to take this further because it's going to have repercussions that are not worth the solving?
It's a really good question. I don't know. Um, I don't. It feels like what he does, and
Mm.
what I mean, we're not given everything. We're not given a lot of aftermath. Um,
Yeah.
it feels like Esterhazy's actions to me would be sort of like not much else. He didn't do much else outside of the frame of the story. Like there wasn't,
Mm.
he didn't go and approach the emperor and ask him or anything like that. And it feels as though I think it's one quality I really like about Esterhazy is that he recognizes these things and isn't interested in like dismissing their magic, I guess, by
Mm.
resolving them. Like there's a sort of like once you've like completely untangling the mystery, and then it's not a mystery anymore. It's sort of like it evaporates.
Yeah.
Um, and even here, it sort of feels like he gets this glimpse, and it's sort of like a private thing for him. Maybe
Mm.
something he
Mm.
records in a journal, maybe something he tells a friend, but not something that he goes and like tries to go to the local newspaper and get it like, you know what I mean? And get it brought, get it out there so everybody can know about it. It's like I don't know, he sort of intuits the right thing to do isn't that sort of like, I don't know, like that paparazzi sort of action or something like that, just chasing it. You know what I mean? Like, I got to find out the truth. Tell me right now. I'm going to be really intrusive. You know, I don't know. It feels like the right action too. It just feels good. It sort of maintains that. It always seems like he's really interested in maintaining the essence of whatever supernatural thing it is.
Right.
If there's some other outlying issue, like the guy who disappeared for 20 something years or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, okay, we can get that. That's okay to
Divorce,
get. That's not a
dismiss.
problem if we resolve
Mm.
that. But it's still like the mystery of that force that was being manipulated is still sort of a mystery. It's still kind of unresolved.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it's like this preservationist sort of thing. He's like a park ranger of the supernatural or something. You know,
Smokey the
that
Bear.
makes it's a weird. There you go. There's one for you. Right? Something, right?
Only you can prevent fire. Ah, I
That's
ruined my own
right.
joke. I say only you can prevent empire collapses, and I said fire
Oh,
instead.
but you can prevent.
Oh,
Only you can prevent empire collapse. I like that. That's good.
see, that was funny.
I
I
was gonna go
ruined
for like
my.
a Yogi Bear thing or something. I didn't know how to pull it because there was the one with the bear, but I didn't know how to pull that in.
It's true. Hey, Esterhazy, how about the picnic
Hey, boo
basket?
boo.
Hey, boo boo.
We got an emperor.
Oh, that's better. Okay, that's pretty good. And the emperor as a not just a pauper, but someone who has deliberately gone down to the very bottom levels. Going into a hole and realizing my whole nation, my whole empire will be in a hole soon. It reminds me of the very opposite of this video that's been being talked about recently over here of I don't know how long ago the video was made, but at one point, Kim Jong Un, Putin, and Xi Jinping were all talking together, and they were all talking about the future of medicine. They're like, "Wow, we're going to make such good progress in medicine. So many great things about the medical sciences and regeneration, and the improving longevity." And then people started thinking, "Why are these three talking about that?" And then they start getting closer to this idea of, maybe living for longer. Well, how long do you mean? Maybe living forever? Oh God, these three. So it's interesting to have like an emperor, want to live forever, want to be at the very top, the pinnacle of power forever, and finding a medical science to be able to do that. And then it's interesting here of a emperor that recognizes their shadow right from the start, or I guess when the shadow becomes even stronger than the original emperor. So recognizing the
Mhm.
the shadow age, I guess, and just not even deliberately going out, but just his spirit seems to be going out. Like in dreams, he's realized that it's time for shadows, and he himself, as a shade, is kind of going down in there to observe the start of this shadow age. Unlike those three who are going to live forever.
That's, yeah. I don't know if there's anybody
Whoa.
that should live forever. It seems like it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Something
Hmm.
something I thought of too is that there's that whole discussion about we'll forget about this when once I'm gone. This sort of like this world that exists right now will be forgotten.
Hmm.
Reminds me of that Borges story about that city or that country that existed and is it what that they found in an encyclopedia, but it's only in this one
Oh.
edition of an encyclopedia that they
Clone
find. I can't
Upar
remember
Orbis
what it.
Tertius.
Yes. It reminds me of that. I was thinking of that. I was like, "Oh, that's so," which is such an amazing, creepy, right,
Yeah.
idea. Like, there was this whole, like, group of people in existence that's, like, just sort of been, like, slowly edited out of an encyclopedia or something, or is ostensibly sort of what it starts off to be. Um, and, I just really thought that was really interesting. Like, yeah, like, there's, like, what other you think, "Oh, what other mysteries are there that just aren't discussed anymore?" Or just, just sort of, like, get eroded by, like, lack of interest and time, you know?
Yeah.
And was that what happened here? Is that why we don't know? Like, was this really an empire? Did Avram know something we didn't know? And it's like, if we dig deep enough that there's truths to this or something. But, I don't know. I think I like that energy.
I do too. We got to dig our own well to the truth. I like that energy too. It is, a Transvolcania, Siberia. Sib- oh my God, I can't remember the full name. Siberia something
It's a
Transvolcania.
mouthful, and I love it.
Oh, I just kicked my camera. Oh, sorry. I got so excited about remembering the name.
It's an earthquake. It's very
An
short.
earthquake. Yeah. Yeah, it is really interesting to have this place that doesn't exist, and then we're talking about it like it does exist. Whenever my body's shaking now. Whenever I hear the word earthquake, I'm, oh, it's happening.
You're like, "Be ready." Your body, like, gets in
I'm
the
ready.
vibration, like a counter vibration to, like,
Yeah, just
you've been trained.
I'm
I gotta do
gelling.
my earthquake dance. It helps.
That's right. Constantly Dr. Sholin. Um, Virgil's, anything else about the story, or is it time for Taiwanese 101?
I think this is good. I'm really happy that this was a good place for us to move to a different collection of Avram writing. I think this was a great, kind of a really great, poignant story to end on. So yeah, enjoyed it. It was really great. It was so unexpectedly like it really is it's probably I guess my second favorite or one of or ties
Wow.
for my favorite now.
Okay.
I really liked it. Like I said, very very simple, but I think that it was really, I really loved just how it all came together in a very simple way. Not in a traditional mystery per se, but that's it. I got nothing else.
Well, it leaves you the very chewy thought, it's a lingering thought. We're like, wow, that is a really strange feeling, the shadow. Virgil, can you
Mm.
give us a pitch for Lime Killer? Why should we be excited about Lime Killer?
Oh, okay. Yes, this is cool. This is cool. So I've read the first two Lime Killer stories. Um, Most recently, the very first one. I had read I don't know what order it was in, but I've read two, and the one that I'd read was the Bloody Man. Um, And two things so, like, the easy pitch is it's, like, sort of like magical realism in a, South American country that doesn't exist, but, like or, like, a fictionalized version of a South American country. Um, but what I loved about it, especially that first story, and we'll go into it more, is that it's like this first story takes a lot of time to build up this place and make it feel so incredibly real and lived in.
Mm, mm,
And then you just sort of fall but the whole time you don't even know you're like falling into the story deeper and deeper. And then it's like there's callbacks to something that was all like you thought was just sort of like world building. But it's like this whole story is like this amazing place that gets built up and it feels so real and the accents feel real and authentic. They don't feel uh they don't feel um like I don't know, just like what's the word here? Cliche. There we go.
mm, 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 mm.
They feel authentic, and just the whole place feels authentic. And then the writing is just this like really great. I don't know. I'm reluctant to say the word breezy, but just sort of like really relaxed. Like
Hmm.
look at this place and this world, and you really just like it feels so lush in a way. Um, Really liked it, and it just and these great um, supernatural stories, which are also sort of supernatural detective type stories,
Hmm.
right? But there's a little bit of like maybe like the African Queen in there, maybe a little bit of
Oh,
like maybe a little bit of like Indiana Jones type stuff almost, sort of like
oh,
adventure stories, right?
cool.
I just think they're so good. Right? And supernatural stuff for sure. The Bloody Man absolutely is a supernatural story.
Hmm.
Um, just absolutely wonderful. I mean, they're just so good. Just a little bit that I've never read them all. Just so good. And then Lucius Shepard does an introduction to. I know the most recent printing. I don't know if he has an introduction in the original printing.
Hmm.
Um, and he does the audiobook introduction. It's in there also. And I really like that introduction. It really gave a lot of um, like talked about his connection to Avram and kind of had like like not exactly a bio, but just sort of talked about Avram objectively from someone who knew them, who didn't grow up knowing him, but met him a little bit later in life. I think Avram
Oh,
taught him writing. It was like he was his
whoa.
writing teacher for a little while, for a very short time, and talks about that. So really cool. Well, we could talk about that if we get there. So yeah, so
Cool.
go read it. It's awesome. Is the real like, and for me, like some of my favorite stuff I've read. So just a little bit that I've got is like really liked it. Like, oh, I want to read more of this for sure. I wish there should be volumes of this.
That's high praise. Virgil is very well read.
Uh,
So that's very high praise. Okay, Virgil, I'm excited for Lime Killer. We got to do another episode on Lime Killer soon. I want to teach you a Taiwanese word. Are you ready?
This is good. I'm excited. I always try to get you to like, how do you say that? And then I try to say it I forget it immediately as soon as we're off. But I'm gonna try.
Oh, me
And then
too,
I'm like,
Virgil.
what did I say?
Taiwanese is so
It goes
hard.
like,
I'm failing on Taiwanese really bad, but I'll teach you some. This one everybody
this will
knows.
help us all.
This will help us all. So instead of saying, you can also say hello, hello, like, which is li ho, li ho. So li ho is just how you say hello. But most of the time, li ho, people will say instead, have you eaten? That's what people will say. So instead of saying li ho, you might say Zimbabwe, like that. Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe.
Oh, Zimbabwe.
Almost Zimbabwe. Yeah. Not quite Buble, but Zimbabwe. Yeah. And then,
not Michael Bublé, but
not Michael Bublé. And then if you say yes, you say like I've eaten. So you say Chiba'a.
Chiba.
Perfect. Chiba'a.
Okay. Zimbabwe and Chiba. So that's interesting. So people will greet you if you come into work and someone essentially asks if you've eaten. I'm just asking. That's
you might, like, when you see family members, you see friends, and most of the time people say, unless they're older, they say Taiwanese. Most of the time it's like 你吃饭了吗? It's Chinese. So 还没吃或者我吃过了，你吃饭了吗? So the Taiwanese is Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe. But then that's a pretty
it's great. I love it. I love hearing like these cultural differences and stuff like that. I think it's so interesting, because it's like something that we take for granted, like, oh, how are you doing?
Yeah,
and it's like people, that's not really a question, right? Like, it's not a question. Nobody really wants you to answer that question. They want you to say, oh, doing good. Like, that's what you're supposed, like, that is the response. Like, hello. You're not supposed to say hello. Oh man, this and this. Like, wait a minute. That's the follow-up questions that we go into a little bit more, but you're not really supposed to answer that question.
If someone does that too, you can also say 加蹦, like go eat. So you say 吃饭. So 加蹦. So someone says they haven't eaten, you can tell them to go eat. It's like, eat more,
Oh, okay.
Eat more.
So that's like the same thing. Like, how's it going? I'm doing terrible. Oh, I'm so sorry. So that's like, it's like there's like a, oh,
it's
go
okay.
eat.
Yeah, the cafeteria is just downstairs. Go eat. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's great that it's so focused on making sure everybody's been fed and taken care of. So that's a cool cultural, like, touch note. I love that.
You gotta eat. Yeah. You gotta have your meals.
That's cool.
You gotta eat Ama's Luro fan. Okay. I'll teach you some next time, Virgil, and we'll be back for some lime killer.
Yes. It's gonna be great.
I'm stoked. All right. 再见, Virgil.
Yo ho ho.
Yo ho ho.
Yo ho ho.